Now, earlier in the day, I got a chance to speak to one of the biggest names in the esports gaming world. In case you don't know, esports is short for electronic sports, and it's a competitive computer gaming where players and teams compete against each other in video games, often in big stadiums with large cash prizes. Earlier, I got to speak to one esports player called Johan Sundstein, better known by his gaming name N0tail. Less than 2 weeks ago, Johan became the top prize-winning esports player of all time, having won around $7 million to date. Johan started by telling me how he got into the world of esports.
So I've been playing games my whole life. I've started playing games when I was on the potty, like doing potty training. I had a Game Boy in my hands. So yeah, I've been doing this for a very long time.
It's a good way to keep a child in one place, I tell you.
Yeah, apparently I was a very easygoing child. That's what my mom always says. No wonder. No, but I've always been very much into games. I love games through and through. And esports kind of happened early on in my teens. It was very small. Like, just to tell you, the first tournaments that we were playing together, we even boot camped out of our own pocket. That means we go to each other, we sleep there, practice, and we won a headset. One headset for 5 guys, and we had to decide who's getting it, So it started on a very, very low place where people were doing it purely out of passion, even investing in it just for the fun of it, to more and more and more money. So when I was 14, it was very small. Slept on a couch for many, many, many years. And then it got really, really big, really, really fast. And you saw it happening a lot of places at the same time. Still today, or a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, where you had the Fortnite 30 million as well. So you have some really big tournaments happening in games.
It's exploded. But you talk about, hanging at people's houses, sleeping on their couches. What did your parents make of their 14-year-old doing all of this?
So maybe there was probably a little bit of worry about the future if I was setting myself up for a very good future. And and it's not like I felt a lot of it, because they were super supportive. That's the one thing I will always say, is that they were really supportive of whatever I wanted to do. So I'm very lucky in that sense. Some people have a harder time, but still, I did feel it. I could feel their worry deep down, but they quickly, as soon as they saw the salary happen, so this didn't go on for very long. Like, it was just in the very beginning when a headset was won and whatever. Then we started getting a salary, and once I got a salary, I think they started calming themselves down. We had low salaries, like $300 a month and stuff.
When you actually got that first check or whatever it was that the moment when you thought, hey, I could make a career out of this?
Definitely when money started coming in, even small amounts, you started hoping. Like, it was a dream, right? When you're a kid, you're playing these games, you're traveling everywhere just out of the fun, just out of the passion, the hobby aspect of it. And then you could your hobby becomes your job. That's a very nice thing to have happen, you could keep doing your hobby for as long as you want. So there was hope, and I think, a lot of people back then probably saw the potential already then. Like, boom, that's a spectator sport, or that's a spectator game, whatever you want to call it.
But that's just it. A lot of people will be listening to this, say, hey, I'm a gamer. I really enjoy gaming. It's my hobby. And then here you are making real money out of this. What would you say to them?
How to become a professional video gamer is about really wanting it. And it's also about a bit of fortune, I guess. If you're really good at Rocket League, maybe you should focus on that rather than trying to join on one of the really big and really hard games. I'm not really sure. It's a very tough thing to give advice on. But the one thing that really matters is you got to like competition, but you also got to really want it. If you really, really, really want it, then you have a shot.
So let's talk about what happened last week. You and your team won that Dota 2 contest for the second time in a row. Congratulations. One of the most high-profile and lucrative gaming competitions that there is. What was that like for you?
I'm still shell-shocked a bit. It was different. Winning second time around. First time was mind-blowing. I'm still getting used to the feeling of having won again. It hasn't hit me yet. I don't understand the full extent of everything, but it's a very nice feeling. It was very rewarding to win a second time. We have this stigma. We're always winning, and there's some excuse to it. So now there was another one, and it just keeps going, and it's really fun.
And these aren't small-scale operations, are they? These are huge competitions in terms of scale.
Yeah, esports is still very young. And I still think it has a long way to go in terms of many things when it comes to professionalism, like in the sports world, like through and through. It's very professional still, but I can kind of tell that maybe over the years this is going to go away. It's very big. The first time I went, it was crazy. I had people watching me play video games. I don't think I've even come to terms with that. It's a great
Yeah.
it's a great occupation, but it is very hard and it's very time consuming.
And you call it an occupation. Here we are, many of us going to our newsrooms or our offices, and we, know how the day is going to plan out. What's a day like in the life of a sports gamer like yourself?
Depending on your game, you have an off season, you have an on season, and you usually have this on and off. You're going to be going to a boot camp. There's a tournament coming up, so your practice gets way more intense, or you can be out on the road for 2 months in a row. That has happened to me, and that's really, really intense. That's really, really rough. We're talking 4 tournaments, 4 different countries. If you're unlucky, it could be 4 different time zones. I've gone to China and back to China again twice in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, I think. Traveling in between, constantly playing, constantly practicing. It can get really hard. Imagine like you're a fisherman. You go out on the boat and you're out for a while. Yeah, same thing. We don't get to stay home all that often.
And Johan, you're now the top prize winning player of all time in such competitions. Have you found your calling, do you think, or is there something else on the horizon career-wise?
Yeah, I definitely found my calling. It's the third one, for sure. I can't stop. Not yet. I definitely have aspirations, for sure. I have many things I want to do. There's many things I want to try later on in life, I guess, but it's foresighted. I definitely want to have a lot to do with animals, one way or another, especially dogs, either a shelter or a psychology center, something in that sort. I also want to work in environmental business. I want to try to do something. You see the Amazon on fire, then you see trees being planted in India. There's a lot going on, and I kind of want to do some good.
Johan, we've been asking our audience to send us in some messages for you, those listening around the world, and I want to play a couple to you. Let's start with one.
Right. My name is Alain Kamba, a Congolese by nationality from Ituri province, DRC. My question I would like to ask is, the gamers online, they've really made a lot of money, that we know. Now, I would like to know if there is any charitable organizations that they do support or they do back up in helping humanity. That's my question I would like to know, and actually on behalf of all the Congolese. Thank you very much.
Well, Johan, you touched on that a short moment ago in terms of what you'd like to do in terms of other causes. But right now, what is the industry doing, if anything, in terms of contributing to charitable causes or other such things?
Oh, we see it quite often, as a matter of fact. There's this speedrunning event that's actually, I think they've managed to raise over $1 million. I believe that they managed to raise a bucket load of money. This is something I also support and I watch all the time. It's a speedrunning event. A lot of people get together and they're simply trying to beat the game as fast as possible. You have people watching at home, they're donating, and all this donation, all the viewership, it goes into a charitable organization. We occasionally donate our tournament winnings as well. I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of money in this esport industry, and I think a lot of the people, including myself, who end up winning a lot of this money doesn't really have the competence yet to put it to the best use, But there's a lot of charitable stuff going on. Video games really do connect people.
That's a really striking thing you've just said, that it's so much money that we haven't quite got our heads around what we can actually do with it. So just to clarify, your team, your 5 teammates and yourself, you've won $15.6 million and you're still only 25.
Yeah, it's a lot of money for a 25-year-old in today's society. I know. There's a lot of people with a lot more money out there.
Well, let's take another question then.
Good morning. My name is Monique and I am from Ghana. My question for the highest paid video game esports player in the world would be, what does he think the effect of video gaming is in relation to gun violence and gun attacks, especially on school children? And how does he think the promulgation or the propagation of the games or video games can or is indirectly affecting all of these shootings, and what can be done about it? Thank you.
So, Johan, do you think the industry influences any rise in violence?
I would like to say quite on the contrary. Like I said before, I'm a huge enthusiast about video games. Video games really turned my life around in many aspects. It's a very teaching, and it teaches people confidence. It teaches them so many things, like self-confidence, belief, empathy. I definitely think that some people can spiral into a negative state of mind, and some games can work like as a simulator. I don't think the thing to focus on is there's many ways you can do that. I mean, you can pick up a stick and pretend that you're shooting a gun, or if your dad has weapons, this is probably how it's going to go down. But definitely, like, video games have a positive impact around the world. I think maybe there's something to be looked on. It's always good to keep an open mind and to see how things can be done better. But I don't think it has anything to do with the reason why people get that idea to pick up a weapon and point it at someone. I think that comes from something entirely different.
Johan, looking ahead, what is the future for the esports industry?
It might continue to grow. It might continue to overtake more and more spectator sports or even real sports in the future. This is kind of what I see happening. I've been living in it for over a decade, and it seems that this is the way it's going.
Thanks very much to Johan Sundstein for speaking to me a little earlier.